Welcome to this week's Treasury Career Corner podcast, where I interview Treasury professionals about their Treasury careers. Each and every week, I talk to them about how they've built their careers, where they are now, where they see both themselves and the Treasury profession going to next. Let's get on with the show. This week's show, delighted to be joined by Paulo Kubis, the Head of Treasury at Electrolux Professional Group. Headquartered in Stockholm, Sweden, Electrolux Professional Group is one of the leading global providers of food service, beverage, and laundry solutions, serving a wide range of customers globally, from restaurants and hotels to healthcare, educational, and other service facilities. Commercial activities focus on three main geographic areas, which we're going to explore a little bit more, but the Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. But as I say, they've got, wow, let's look at these. Some of the numbers: 4,000 employees, 12 manufacturing plants, operating more than 110 markets worldwide. But I'm going to get Paulo to talk us through that a little bit later on in the show. He's got a truly international background, so we're going to go back to his international roots. So take us back to the beginning, if you would, so how you first discovered the world of Treasury, because you came into finance, but then you did trading, and you've got, obviously, as you say, a Brazilian background and things like that. We can see that. But if you would like, take us back to your origin story, Paulo. Over to you, sir.
Hello, Mike. Hello, everyone. It's an absolute delight to be part of the show. I'm a fan. I'm a listener. So really excited to be here. As any Brazilian boy, I was fascinated with football and had a dream to become a footballer. That didn't turn out to be the case, but at least football gave me a scholarship to get my bachelor's degree in the US, which was a great opportunity to start with. That was also where I had a chance to be introduced to finance, working for Northwestern Mutual. Spent a few summer months as an intern working with financial advisory. And from that point on, I knew that financial market was my passion, right? So I moved back to Brazil after I graduated, had a brief experience with controlling, which was great, gave me the opportunity to navigate further into accounting and controlling. Worked for ExxonMobil for a little bit and tried to expand my studies into the financial and capital markets, which then provided the opportunity to go into a brokerage firm, work with equities and futures, later as an investment consultant at one of Brazil's biggest retail banks.
I want to jump in there and ask you, so there you're talking about, Paulo, being an investment consultant, if you like, back in, well, turn of the decade, if you like. So it's 2011, 2013. I know there was monetary reform in Brazil. What was it like for you? Because you were literally at the front end of that. What was that for you, with all the risks to analyze and manage and things? What was it like for you?
Well, it was interesting, of course, a great school. Brazil had gone through monetary reform in the 90s, which brought a cap and some stabilization on both inflation and the currency. That definitely helped. Around the time I was an investment consultant, we could still see high single digits, low double digit inflation in the country, interest rates at levels that the more mature economies weren't used to anymore, although now in the past couple of years with the inflationary pressures in Europe and the US, that suddenly is not such a distant memory, right? But it was an interesting time. Of course, Brazil is a more regulated economy. The currency is non-convertible. You have some limitations in those senses. You adapt, right? It is a huge country, big economy, a lot of opportunities. So you adapt to the nuances of the market and the economy and learn along the way. And that was actually what propelled my introduction to Treasury, which was a great transition, to be honest.
And when you say transition, Treasury in Brazil, and obviously that was where you started your journey with Electrolux. What was it presented to you as, oh, here's a treasury job? You're like, really? But it was more, obviously, it was more front office and trading focus at that stage. Was it just this is just working for a corporate, or how was it for you at that stage?
It was new. Of course, I had some experience at that point on the sell side, right? Working for an equity broker or a bank. Now jumping over to the other side on the buy side, working for a corporate. Of course, there was a learning curve, and I can only thank the people that have been part of my career and my journey for taking a bet on me, right? I had never been part of a corporate treasury. My first experience was front office experience, which comes with a lot of responsibility. So I need to be thankful to the people that looked at my profile, my drive, and my ambition to learn, and really took a bet. So it was an interesting transition. Of course, early on in that process, it was easy to realize that treasury had become a passion and would be where I expected my career to develop, right? And I had the chance to really specialize working for Electrolux in Brazil, in the regional treasury center there, which oversaw the whole region, right? So coming back to your question about the economic environment, then at that point in time, I had the opportunity to expand beyond Brazil and work with the whole of Latin America, right? And there you have a range of countries that treat economic policy and monetary policy in different ways. I had to deal with hyperinflation in Venezuela, in Argentina, for example, with capital controls in those countries. So great learning experience, great learning opportunity to expand my knowledge and really continue the path to specialize in treasury.
And can you just, again, as we do each week, you were investments, but then Electrolux. Can you just give us an explanation of the company, maybe starting with the Brazilian arm, and then more generally wider and everything else? Because that also, then we'll talk later on about spin-off process and everything else. Electrolux, who are they, or who were they at the time in Brazil, and what was the company globally?
Absolutely. So Electrolux is one of the largest global manufacturers of home appliances, and at the time also professional appliances, which is the portion of the business that got later spun off, and we'll talk about it.
What's the difference between a professional and a domestic then, or how does it differ?
Consumer goods and domestic appliances are, well, or kitchen appliances, the refrigerators, the stoves, if we go to our own laundry room in our houses and in our apartments, the appliances that you and I as retail consumers use every day, right? Mm-hmm. Professional appliances, then we're talking about serving businesses. So cooking equipment for restaurants, restaurant chains, bars, cafes, laundry equipment for laundry services, laundries for commercial laundries, for hospitals, for elderly care institutions, etc. Right? So we are talking about different scales in terms of machinery, but also different end consumers, right?
And when you started, when you were with Electrolux, first starting there back in 2013, was it all together?
It was all together, exactly. So I entered the regional treasury center in Latam, in Brazil. The focus of the business in Latam was consumer goods. So the professional appliance business had a small participation in the region. But yes, still one company. Then, of course, Electrolux globally has a large presence in the US, in Europe, in Asia, and also in Latam, where I was. So from there, I had the opportunity to work closely with Group Treasury in Stockholm, where Electrolux is headquartered, and had the chance to dip my toes into an European treasury later on.
And you just let's focus on that so you moved 2016 from Brazil to Stockholm. What was that like, bar the weather? Because that's a heck of a change.
Exactly. I'm from the south of Brazil, so we deal with a little bit of cold weather. Yeah. But of course,
Stockholm. I've been to Sweden in those months. There's cold weather, and then there's Stockholm, Sweden. Wow. Yeah, you wear every bit of clothing you can some of the time.
Exactly, and the darkness is probably the part that hits you the most, right? In exchange, during the summertime, you get all the light you can get. So you just need to temper your expectations and make the best of each season, which in Stockholm and in Sweden, the seasons are really pronounced, right?
Yeah. And what was the, then on a company basis for you, moving from Brazil to then you're at the center, what was that like for you as a treasury journey, as a treasury professional?
I had the opportunity to work closely with Group Treasury already prior to my move. Of course, that enabled the opportunity to fill in a position when it was available at Group Treasury. We had very good interaction, very good cooperation between the Latam Treasury Center and the Group Treasury in Stockholm. So from that point of view, the transition was as smooth as it could be. And then the learning curve applies, right? It's a different market. You're then expanding again your horizons. So in my journey, had previously expanded from Brazil into Latam, now into Europe and the rest of the world, to be honest, with Group Treasury at Electrolux. So the learning curve there was also a very exciting journey. Had great people again involved in my personal journey that again took a chance and saw the potential of what I could become as a professional. Great colleagues over time that made sure all the knowledge around could be shared. And that's something I really appreciate. And I really try to bring into my own behavior, especially now as a leader, right? As head of a treasury, sharing of knowledge must be one of the priorities.
How are you, do you actively sort of go around the group, or, how do Electrolux structure it? Sorry to just chuck that question at you, but, I mean it because there are, you say, and I know that you and I have had a pre-call about that, but how do you share that knowledge? How are you, is it just over a coffee, or how are you, is it more formally structured than that?
You need to combine both, I would say. You need to have the personal interaction and sometimes the informal conversation to get to people, but also take advantage of the formal forums and the formal opportunities that not only the company presents to you, but that you present to the company and your colleagues, right? We will soon get to the spinoff process of Electrolux Professional, of course, and then building group functions from the ground. That knowledge sharing aspect really becomes paramount.
And so for the listeners today, can you then talk about, so back in 2019, as I can see, and people might not know, but Electrolux Professional, they sort of spun off or separated. What position were you in Treasury? And, what was that like for you going through that process? Because now you're the head of Treasury for Electrolux Professional. Talk us through that, if you would.
Absolutely. So in 2019, the Electrolux Group decided to spin off and separate the professional appliances business. Basically, the idea there was to provide the right focus to the specific customer groups, right? Electrolux, especially now after the spin-off and the separation, now specializes and is one of the largest providers of consumer appliances, right? So the appliances you and I, Mike, use every day in our homes. And Electrolux Professional is now a separate company that specializes in professional appliances. So the cooking appliances that restaurants utilize every day, the laundry equipment that hospitals, institutions, and commercial laundry shops utilize every day.
Can I ask how do they differ in finances terms? Is it just a bigger scale, different commercial terms and things because they're more a commercial versus a domestic and sort of consumer focused business? Is that why? Because one's consumer focused and different drivers, and one is more professional and more sort of commoditized, if that's the right way to put it. But or is that why, or how would you describe it?
I would say Electrolux customer base is focused on the large retailers, right? Of course, B2C, business to consumer, is increasing, and that is a channel that Electrolux captures in its strategy. But still, you're talking about the large retailers when you think about consumer appliances, right? Where the shops where you go to buy your refrigerator or your stove or your vacuum cleaner. For Electrolux Professional, we have both distributors supporting the supply chain, but we also deal directly with institutions and restaurants and restaurant chains. So we have both project-based sales through distributors, right? And I think there is where the strategy and the customer focus really differentiates itself. And one of the main reasons why the decision for the spinoff was made. Another important aspect is that these are, in essence, although we talk appliances, consumer and professional appliances are in essence two different industries that operate at different margin levels, that operate at different multiples. So providing the right focus. Yeah, exactly. So providing the right focus to each segment really gives both companies the opportunity to specialize on what they are best in, right? And for us, especially at Electrolux Professional now, it gives us the right opportunities to seek growth, to seek improvements and be our own.
And with that spin-off process, I know we spoke about it before, gave you different perspectives, different priorities as you went through that. Explain that to the audience, if you would.
The spin-off process was a great experience. Of course, Electrolux Professional was then separated and publicly listed in March of 2020. Of course, prior to that, a lot of preparation took place. Being previously, in essence, a business area of the larger Electrolux group, a lot of the group functions were shared with the group, right? So in order to prepare for the spin-off, we needed to build the group functions from scratch, and Treasury wasn't different. So I had the opportunity to join. At the time, Treasury and M&A were led by Christian Yosio, who you actually had the privilege to interview here as well.
And we'll also put a link in the show notes to his episode because it was a great one with him as well. But actually on that,
exactly.
but when you say that, you're just doing a spin-off, right? You can do surely you can just mirror what's happened before. Copy paste. That should be just the same, surely. Is it not that much tweaking needs to go on, does it? Or was it very different?
I would say both. There are aspects where, of course, the culture and the way things operated can be replicated. But in essence, the entity that was spun off was smaller in size, right? So there you already need to start adapting to be practical. For example, Group Treasury at Electrolux had 20 plus people. At Electrolux Professional, we started with 2 fully dedicated people and the head of Treasury and M&A, who shared Treasury and M&A responsibilities. So there alone you have to adapt and scale to your new reality, right?
Mm.
With a smaller team, you need to broaden yourself. You need to expand your reach, right? Being part of the trading desk at Electrolux gave me the opportunity to be very specialized in that
Mm-hmm.
and moving into a front office at the time, a front office role at Electrolux Professional. Actually, I had to expand. I had to learn. I had to take into account more risk management aspects. I had to take middle office and sometimes even back office responsibilities. That was the case for me and the case for Eva, my colleague and cash manager. We needed to wear different hats a lot of times, right? So that experience alone was great. First, the opportunity to build something from scratch, and we managed to do that. And then to expand your reach, learn as much as you can, and looking back now, of course, there was a lot of hard work, but now we see and we reap the results. The spin-off happened in 2020, beginning of 2020, March more specifically, and that's exactly when COVID started to become an issue, right? And restrictions started to apply, and our end customers were the most hit by the crisis, right? I mean, we ultimately serve restaurants, hotels, bars, cafes who were forced to be closed, to be shut down. So it was definitely a challenging time, but then proved once again the value in the separation process. I mean, being our own organization, we could take actions fast, we could adapt to the new scenario, we could remain profitable through a tough time. And once we started to look at the pandemic in the rear view mirror, we could go back to our growth ambitions, and that has been the case.
And just going back to that process as well, just for anyone that's maybe going to go through the similar, they've got that approaching. Any kind of checklist, any things that you think, reflecting back on that process, get this right first of all? Is it, banks? Is it just your basic processes? Or what are the key things for, you've been a listener, well, you are a listener, which is fantastic, but you hear me ask this quite often on the podcast. So as you reflect on it, what are the things that you would say, right, don't forget to do this?
Well, one thing our group management got right was that we needed to be realistic and practical. So before becoming the treasury, and in this case, I'll stick to treasury because that's where I was closely involved. But before becoming the treasury we want to be, we need to take a step back in a separation process, building new functions. You need to first simplify and then evolve, right? So take care of the basic, make sure you have your banking and cash management infrastructure in place. That is absolutely day one priority. So your business and your subsidiaries can be operational, right? They can perform payments, they can receive payments from customers. Then in parallel, ensure the availability of credit facilities, right? Get your banking group and your credit partners on board. First of all, the story and the ambition behind the separation and the new company, how you manage debt, growth, and adversity. That is extremely important, and that was actually in our case even more important and capitalized by the pandemic, right? And then with time you shift the focus to the strategic pieces, right? Go after the cash within the organization, manage working capital well, start working and looking for ways to improve, ways to automate, ways to make processes better. But the advice that I can provide is, well, do the basics right, and with that foundation, soon enough you will evolve and see your treasury grow and be the business partner that the whole organization needs, right? In our case, for example, like I said, we started with 2 people fully dedicated to treasury, or head of treasury also responsible for M&A. Now we are 4 people fully dedicated to treasury, and that would never have happened if we didn't do the groundwork and the basis solidly, right?
And you talked there, and you touched on, say, the foundations of it, but also I know you and I talked a little bit about people, recruitment, and things, and we don't always, this podcast is hosted by the Treasury Recruitment Company. If you need people, call us. If you're looking for your next role, call us. There you go, very simple lesson. But for yourself, people-wise and management of teams and things, any takeaways from that? Again, you've heard it many times on the podcast and other people talking about it. What are your thoughts?
We hear often and again that people are the most important asset in any organization, right? And you and I can agree that is always the case. So you need to be strategic. You need to sometimes be fortunate, but you need to put the priority it deserves, right? During the spinoff process, of course, talent from the Electrolux Group was shared with Electrolux Professional in the new organization, and as time passed and we evolved as Treasury and we grew as a function, then the need to recruit came, and it was actually recruiting was one of the first and most important strategic tasks that I faced when I stepped up to become head of treasury. Of course, being part of a group like Electrolux Professional, also like Electrolux previously, that constantly ranks as a top employer, and when you hear people that have worked in the past for Electrolux Professional that work or want to work for Electrolux Professional, saying so many nice and good things about the company as an employer, that definitely supports.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough from that point of view. And then, of course, treasury is a specialized area, right? You need to look for the right talent at the right time. It's not always easy. Sometimes you can be fortunate and do it with your own resources, but
It's
more
much
often
easier.
than not, and
Use us. It's a lot easier.
exactly, you should. And actually, in our conversation, we talked a little bit about it, and your presence in the Nordics and as opposed to Europe, UK, and the US, where we know you do a great job. But yes, especially for treasury, specialized function, you need the right talent at the right time, and it's not a function that is always well understood by other members of the organization, and HR included. So if you can get a hold of specialized help, specialized support, we should. That is for sure.
And I'll chuck in, and it's not an advert for the show, but it's more, Katie's been doing some amazing work and I started through the guys at Treasury 360, started going out to Sweden and then to Finland, and we've had a number of guests in the Nordics, so they're great. You guys are amazing to have on the show, very giving of your time, and I'm very grateful. But Katie's been doing some great work in Finland, in Sweden, I'm trying to think of some of the other places. Does some work in Helsinki recently. In fact, we've got some really good people out there as well. So if you are listening and thinking, oh, well, actually you do cover it. Yes, we do. So do come reach out. And, we don't it's not advertorial on the show. We try and avoid that. But the fact is, exactly as you and I have talked about, Paulo, that we do actually cover that. And that's where we have this Nordic presence. And that's very much Katie's leading that and doing a really good job. And it's a bit like, well, the other thing that just occurred to me before that was, you say, You can put anyone can advertise on LinkedIn. Easy. Yeah, it's massive. Spray and pray. That's all it is. And I was going with a US client the other day, and they said, "Oh, should we go on LinkedIn?" I said, "Yeah, go for it." And they're like, "Oh, right." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You'll get the 5 to 10% of people that are actively looking for a job today. They want a job. They're dissatisfied where they are. Maybe that could be good, that could be bad." I said, "But they're the 10%." So, "Oh yeah." I said, "But you want one of the 9 out of 10, don't you?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, I do." I said, "Yeah, that's where we are." And people have said in the past, "Well, what about LinkedIn? Is it a competition?" No, it's not. It's where you might go for the first thing. And then when you quite quickly don't get the results, you go, "Oh, actually, we need a specialist." That's where we are. Otherwise, we wouldn't been doing it for 25 years. So, sorry, I didn't want to get on the high horse. I'll get off that very quickly. So we're approaching the...
No, absolutely. And especially in a tight labor market like we are experiencing, right? I mean, it gets challenging.
Yeah, and I was just looking at some figures and some reports this morning that I think it's the US market has 3.7% unemployment, which means and in a way that we feel for those people the 3.7, but what that means is that 96.3 are employed. So you're going to have to get people from other jobs to move people around. And that reflects across the Nordics. I mean, the Nordics is probably less. I wouldn't say about the employment rates, I don't know. But the point is, in Treasury, I had a situation earlier this year. They said, "Oh, have you got someone free?" And I said, "What do you mean?" They went, "Well, I think I was trying to say to them, what do you mean someone sitting at home now, a Treasury manager, just sitting, watching the telly thinking, oh, I hope the phone rings and another job comes up?" And I was like, no, 100% of our Treasury folks are employed at the moment. There are people maybe finishing contracts and stuff. I said, it's not like, general labor market where you might just have people floating around. In Treasury, it tends to be they all come from another company. That's why we exist as well. So again, sorry, I'll shut up. I don't want to do it. Let's go back to you. Let's go back to the case.
No, exactly. No, but talent management and I mean, especially depending on the position and the level of experience that is required, of course, it can become very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning of the show, I was fortunate enough to have people taking a chance on me, right? I not necessarily always had the experience required for the positions I was offered, but I think I could transpire the right drive and the right will to learn, and that definitely helped. So perhaps I am a product of that tight specialized market that not always means people are available. So you need to reach out and look for talent, even if it's not ready and packaged to the needs you have, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we're approaching the end of the show. You hear me saying this a lot of weeks. What are the takeaways? We'll put your LinkedIn details in the show notes. What are the takeaways you would give to people from someone that has, had their career that's gone US, Brazil, now in Europe, and, real global Treasury professional maybe, but, what are the takeaways you'd give to people?
The most important takeaways I would like to leave for the audience is, first of all, put yourself up for the challenge, right? Apply yourself, make yourself available. At one point or another, someone will take a chance on you, and you need to be ready, right? That was a big part of my professional history, and one that I want to provide to other ambitious professionals, of course. And the final takeaway is for you as part of a treasury organization, as head of a treasury organization, be a business partner. That is what we need to do. That needs to be the ambition, knowing the business, getting close to operations, understanding the needs. That is where we can really provide value, right? Treasury can sometimes be romanticized, romanticized. Treasury can sometimes be perhaps left aside, depending on the climate, depending on the economic scenario. But we need to constantly be the best business partner that we can, right? Always keeping in mind what the group, what the organization strives to do and deliver to investors.
Well, great takeaways there. I mean, the one that really, be up for that challenge and be prepared for it, that you can come along at any time. I think that was great. And Paulo, thank you for listening each and every week. As as we just talked there, there'll be a little bit of an edit and then you'll be live. So, and everyone will listen to your amazing words. Thank you for sharing, a lot of the stories about Electrolux. We'll put your LinkedIn details in the show notes. People can connect to you. Your LinkedIn network will explode. So thank you very much, sir. You've been an absolute star.
Thank you, Mike. And I hope we will end up with a nice talk and a nice product. And in the end, this was very exciting. I appreciate it a lot. And well, I hope we keep in touch, and I hope our own treasury organization keeps growing with our business, and that we can work together in the future to make that possible.
Well, don't worry, you're on my speed dial now. So yeah, and I'm on yours. There you go. You have to now. And for anyone listening, we do use these and actually recommended. We did a lot of recruitment for Porsche, and with Wolfgang, one of our most popular podcasts, which is actually worth mentioning. We're going to rerun the episode in the summer because it's amazing. But actually, what I would say with you guys listening is he then used that, and as part of the recruitment package, that people were able to listen to that. And you can use it the same yourself. You don't have to recruit from me. It's nicer if you do. But Paulo can, be able to use this, and it actually tells people why they want to be part of Electrolux. So yeah, well, great job, sir. So thank you very much for your time today. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Treasury professionals. Before you dive into the next episode, could you please help me continue to grow the world's only global Treasury salary survey? That's right, our one. We run the results quarterly, so your compensation is constantly benchmarked against the market and your peer group each and every 3 months. It's amazing, isn't it? Just go to treasurysalary.com. It takes less than 2 minutes to complete, start to finish. You then gain exclusive, regular, updated access to our salary survey, keeping you ahead of the curve. The survey is an evolving, breathing entity that constantly tracks the salaries of Treasury professionals on a global basis. Currently, we have over 1,100 participants taking part. By the end of 2023, I want to hit 1,500, but that's where I need your help. Please make it happen at treasurysalary.com. Thank you for being such amazing loyal listeners. Your support is incredible. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Go to treasurysalary.com. Make it 1,500 for 2023. Love you guys.